when it comes to what's being perpetuated in this country, this is what's dangerous. These corporate media outlets are constantly making it seem like, oh my God, they're trying to bring about a second Holocaust against the Jewish people, which is completely untrue. In fact, there are a lot of anti-Zionist Jewish people that are also fighting against what the state of Israel is doing. There are Israelis that are actually saying we need to stop this illegal occupation. But they're not being heard because that ruins the Zionist narrative. As everybody knows, the issue revolving Israel and Palestine has, in the last 7 to 8 weeks, has been basically all-encompassing in the news, and many people have differing opinions on either side. You have people that stand with Israel unabashedly, and they typically have the Zionist opinion, which we know that, they are siding, in my humble opinion, with genocide that's been going on in Gaza since 1948, but it's been intensified since October 7th because there's been a resistance action from a very militant group. And so now you have an uptick in the amount of Islamophobia that has been happening in the West. Unfortunately, some of the victims of this uptick of Islamophobia has happened in Burlington, Vermont. Yes, the home of Bernie Sanders. So this has been happening, and it resulted in the shooting of 3 Palestinian students that are going to college within the area. So let's go into the story about this. And I have plenty of thoughts on this, but yes, it's a lot that's going on right now. Make sure. So let me share my screen. Oh boy. So this is from NBC News. It says suspected arrest and Vermont shooting of 3 U.S. college students of Palestinian descent. A 48-year-old man was arrested after a search of his apartment near the scene of the shooting, Burlington police said Sunday. So it says police arrested a 48-year-old man in connection with Saturday night's shooting of 3 U.S. Palestinian students of U.S. Palestinian descent as the FBI began an investigation and pressure grew to focus on the possibility of a hate motive. Relatives identified the victims and their colleagues gave updates on their medical status. All 3 are being treated in the hospital. So you have Hisham Awartani, is a junior at Brown University who, according to Brown's president, Christina H. Paxton, is being treated at a hospital and is expected to survive. Keenan Abdalhamid is a student at Haverford College in Pennsylvania. Administrators said he was recovering from a gunshot wound in the hospital. Then you have Sassin Ahmed is a student at Connecticut's Trinity College, where he said he is in stable condition in a hospital. The suspect, Jason J. Eaton, was detained Sunday afternoon near the scene of the shooting. Police said in a statement that a search of his property gave investigators and prosecutors probable cause to believe that Mr. Eaton perpetuated the shooting. 2 of the 3 victims were wearing keffiyehs, a symbol of Palestinian nationalism. Well, really, it's liberation, made famous by Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. When a white man with a handgun walked up and, without speaking, opened fire, according to an earlier statement Sunday from Burlington Police Chief John Murad. The Arab American Discrimination Committee said the victims, two of whom are U.S. citizens and the third a legal resident, according to police, were speaking Arabic. So this basically just goes to show that there is a lot of anti-Arabic, Islamophobic sentiments that are growing within the United States, especially since October 7th, because people are constantly perpetuating this notion, this idea that people who are of Arabic descent or people who are of Muslim faith are dangerous because of the perceived actions of a few. Now, just hang on. Why do I say perceived actions of a few? Because a lot of times what will be said according to certain others, particularly in this case, Israelis, is that if somebody leads a resistance against the illegal occupation, they will tout it to being terrorism. When in reality, these are the same people that are committing apartheid and genocide within an open air concentration camp that is also known as Gaza. And so when you look at what's going on in Gaza, as also in the West Bank, and you look at the actual facts on the ground that has been reported by investigative journalists there, then you come to the realization that who's in the wrong is the one that's doing the illegal occupation and kicking Palestinians out of their houses in illegal settlements, as well as doing the bombing of hospitals, mosques, as well as refugee camps and churches. So therefore, you start to wonder who's really in the wrong in regards to what's going on there, but who's also perpetuating the narrative that makes the victims look like they're in the wrong for resisting the illegal occupation. And so therefore, you have what's going on right now in the United States, people wanting to get rid of people who are of Arab descent or of the Islamic faith. Case in point, what happened to a little 6-year-old boy in Chicago a few weeks ago? He was stabbed 26 times because he was Palestinian, because he was Muslim. And so now you see what's going on with 3 young men who are college students. And what was their crime? For speaking Arabic and wearing the keffiyeh. That was their crime. Just existing. And so a lot of people are basically saying, well, we don't know if it was a hate crime. Why else would they target these young men? In Burlington, Vermont. Let's be real. That's not a black city. That's not a minority city. All right? Burlington, Vermont. Like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Places like Vermont, Montana, Wyoming. I mean, it's like walking into a room after a little kid has taken, all-purpose flour and flung it everywhere. A sea of white. I'm sorry, but that's how it is in Burlington, Vermont. So when you have some brown people that are wearing a keffiyeh and they suddenly get shot and they're not doing anything wrong, what do you expect me to believe? So let me go into this also as well. This goes a little deeper. in this article. And this goes a little deeper about the suspect. So first, let me share what the suspect looks like. This is the suspect, 48 years old. It says Vermont shooting suspect interned at Harvard and taught children. It says John Eaton, who previously worked as a farmer, Ivy League researcher, and ski instructor, according to his resume, thought the world is a mess, and his mother told the Daily Beast. So it says the suspect accused of shooting 3 Palestinian college students in Vermont on Saturday night has worked as a farmhand, a Harvard research student, and a former ski instructor, according to a resume reviewed by the Daily Beast. John Eaton, 48, was arrested on Sunday afternoon and charged with 3 counts of second-degree attempted murder in connection with the shooting. Police say that the college students were walking along a Burlington street when the suspect opened fire with a handgun without speaking. Afterward, he fled. The students have been identified as Hisham Awatani, a Brown University student who was shot in the spine, Keenan Abdulhamid, a Harvard College student who suffered a gunshot wound in the buttock, and Tassin Al-Ahmed, a Trinity College student who was shot in the upper chest. According to a Burlington police probable cause affidavit, 2 of the victims are in stable condition, and police said the third is seriously injured. So they talk about how he struggled with Thanksgiving. He was at the Thanksgiving event at his family's house. His mother said that he seemed, fine and in good spirits. And she's talking about how she's shocked by the entire thing. She said he's such a kind and loving person. Of course, blah, 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 blah. And then they go over his resume. They talk about all the parts of his resume where he was in different science fields, as well as how he taught science to 5th and 6th graders for 2 months in 2005, and how he worked and helped at-risk youth, right, in the School of Urban and Wilderness Survival at the Carolinas and North Carolina. So he's a jack of all trades and master of none, right? Let's go into what happened with the young gentleman. It says the students were shot outside the home of Awatani's grandmother, whom they were visiting for Thanksgiving. Awatani told the police that he and his friends watched TV, went on walks during the visit, and that they did not visit any mosque or have any disagreements with anyone. On the day of the shooting, Awatani told the police they were bowling and then went out for a walk. During this walk, Awatani said they were talking, and they spoke a mix of both English and Arabic. Awatani described they had been wearing purple. He was wearing a purple polo shirt, blue jeans, leather jacket, gloves, and a trench coat, along with him wearing a Palestinian head scarf, basically the keffiyeh. So he told the police that they were smoking cigarettes and they were also wearing a keffiyeh. Says Eden allegedly shot the trio from about 2 yards away. That's not very far. Said Awatani told police that Ahmad was screaming and fell during the grisly crime. Awatani said he called 911 and that the man approached him with blankets. Abdulhamid told the police that when they walked past a White House, a wonky man was staring at them and stumbled down the stairs before he walked up with a pulled-out pistol. Believing that the man was going to shoot them, Abdulhamid said he ran across the street and jumped the fence. The affidavit states that Abdulhamid said that he hid for approximately 2 minutes before he ran to another yard and begged the woman to call 911. When he sat down at the residence, he realized that he was wounded. And so here's the crazy part. Eaton said he was arraigned on Monday and pled not guilty. Not guilty? Are you kidding me right now? So he said he's being held without bail. The arrest affidavit says that when the authorities arrived at Eaton's home on Sunday, he said that there was a shotgun inside. Authorities had confirmed Eaton brought a Ruger 38 caliber pistol in April. He says, I have been waiting for you. So the mayor of Burlington said this is one of the most shocking, disturbing events in the city's history. So it talks about he had a YouTube account about exposing Fauci, which, I mean, that's nothing out of the ordinary to me. And so it goes into a lot of his social media use. He was also involved in a lot of financial work. That's basically what it talks about. And then talks about how he worked a lot in landscape. But I want to get into this part. It says on Thanksgiving, Reed said, and this was his mother, Eaton was totally normal and the family had a great holiday together. It was not immediately clear whether Eaton owned a gun. It was the best Thanksgiving we had in years. We were all together. So that was his mother saying that. During the family dinner, Reed said that Eaton did not mention the ongoing war between Israel and it's not a war. Hang on. Let me correct this. All right. So that people are aware. It is not a war because Palestine does not have an actual army. They do not have an air force. They do not have an army. They do not have an armada. They have nothing of the sort. So therefore, it is not a war. It is a genocide that is happening. It is a massacre that is happening, especially when you have more over 10 times the people who are killed in Gaza than any type of resistance that has, dealt a blow to Israel. So therefore, it is not a war. A war would mean that there's two equal opposing sides. There is not. So therefore, when they call it a war, it is not a war. And the majority, I would say a majority of the people who have died at the hands of Israel are children, babies. So therefore, this is not a war. So you gotta, whenever you're reading corporate media, you have to take that into consideration because they will always side with the oppressor a lot of times. Anywho, she added, however, that her son is a very religious person. Guess what? A lot of Zionists are, who connects with different religious figures and often reads the Bible. Quote, he, like all of us, thinks the world is a mess. He is a spiritual person. At the end of the family celebration, she gave her son a Christmas tree to start decorating for the holiday. She said she had not spoken to her son since Thursday and assumed he was at home over the weekend decorating the tree. Reed says she found out about the shooting early Monday morning when her daughter came over and woke her up. Police say on that Sunday night, the search warrant was executed to Eaton's residence. The affidavit states that when the ATF agent asked Eaton why he had been waiting for the authorities, he simply replied that he would like a lawyer before he stepped into the apartment hallway. Inside the top drawer of the dresser inside Eaton's bedroom, investigators found a pistol with a loaded magazine containing 5 rounds of ammunition for a .38 pistol. Attorneys for Eaton did not respond for the Daily Beast request for comment. Quote, I just don't understand. I can't believe he would do something like this, end quote. And a lot of times, a lot of people, especially Zionists, who side with Israel, they will do that. They will see all Arabs or all Muslims as the enemy. And notice I said Zionists, because there are more Christian Zionists in this country than there are of any other faith So a lot of Zionists are Christian. And by the way, a lot of these Zionists are in favor of Israel because they want to usher in the rapture and the coming of Jesus. That's basically what it is. So that is what's going on there. So just to give you guys a little bit of a visual of what's going on. And these are the three young men. By the way, I need to get myself a kafia. But yes, these are them. So let's go.
I'm back here on Live Now from Fox. I do want to get to this breaking news that I was talking about right before the break. The information we have coming from this tweet or X post that is from Hussam Zamlat, the ambassador and head of Palestinian mission to the UK, as well as the former head of PLO mission to the U.S. and strategic affairs advisor to the president of the Palestinian Authority. Take a look at that photo there. It is on your screen, as he did post about this, saying 3 young Palestinian men, and he does list their names. They are students at Brown, he says, and other U.S. universities, shot last night on their way to a family dinner in Burlington, Vermont, in the USA. Their crime, he says, was wearing the Palestinian Kifaya, and he does say right now that, again, they were shot there and critically injured. And 6 weeks ago, he says, 6-year-old Palestinian child stabbed 26 times in a hate crime in Illinois. He says the hate crimes against Palestinians must stop. Palestinians everywhere need protection. So again, he did tweet out that photo and the limited information we have. We have reached out to police over in Burlington, Vermont to get more information as this is developing overnight. Again, he did post that photo right there on your screen and provided some limited information saying that these 3 Palestinian men were shot last night on their way to a family dinner in Burlington, Vermont, and were critical.
So yeah. So hopefully they make a full and complete recovery. But this just speaks to a lot of what is being perpetuated in the United States, especially if you watch corporate media. Because I blame corporate media for part of this, because they're perpetuating the idea that anybody that is Palestinian, Arab, or Muslim is anti-Semitic and that they hate Jews. That is wrong. In fact, there is a respect among Muslims for Judaism. Notice I said a respect for Judaism, because Judaism and Zionism are 2 completely different things. Judaism is a religion, and Zionism is a political ideology. Conflating Judaism and Zionism is just like conflating Christianity and capitalism. So, with that being said, when it comes to what's being perpetuated in this country, this is what's dangerous. These corporate media outlets are constantly making it seem like, oh my God, they're trying to bring about a second Holocaust against the Jewish people, which is completely untrue. In fact, there are a lot of anti-Zionist Jewish people that are also fighting against what the state of Israel is doing. There are Israelis that are actually saying we need to stop this illegal occupation. but they're not being heard because that ruins the Zionist narrative. And there's a lot of Zionists that actually run corporate media. Now, you notice I said Zionist because not all Zionists are Jewish, right? And so you have Zionists that will, like, for instance, that run the White House. Biden is a Zionist. Trump is a Zionist. Obama's a Zionist. Clinton's a Zionist. They all are. So with that being said, they're constantly perpetuating this in order to keep their de facto military base in the Middle East. That's basically all it really is. So it is perpetuating this danger, perpetuating a dangerous air within the country that we really should not have, because it's placing Arab and Muslim people in danger. And it's also placing Jewish people in danger, because now you got some people who will cling to anti-Semitism and use what's going on in Palestine and in Gaza as a way to be anti-Semitic. And by anti-Semitic, I mean truly anti-Semitic. So that's the problem, what's going on with corporate media. And you have people like this guy, Mr. Eaton, who probably listens to corporate media constantly and constantly listening to Zionists and decides, oh my God, they're the ones who are perpetuating this. I need to stop this. And then goes out and shoots 3 young Palestinian students. This is why the system needs to change. Because you have people that are doing things and what they feel in their mind, their propagandized mind, is just, and their brainwashed mind they feel is just, and they end up carrying out heinous acts because they feel that they're doing God's will. When in reality, they're not doing God's will. They're doing capitalists' will to perpetuate and keep violence against marginalized people in this country. Zionism is not God's will. Zionism is corporate dictators' will. It's the ultra wealthy rich's will to keep Jewish people, Muslim people, Arabs, and Jews in danger by pitting one group against another. By saying to one group, oh, you can have this person's land. They're not really using it, when in fact they are. Peep game. This is what they did to a lot of the African tribes when it comes to colonialism. They will pit one group against another, and then make one group resent the other. What did they do? They took Jews, they told them to go to Palestine, set up shop there, take all the rest of the land, and then now you have 2 marginalized groups fighting against one another. Because one is like, hey, you stole my home. The other one's like, hey, they said we can have it. And now you have settler colonialism that's being dealt a blow against a nation of people who just want to live in peace. Anyhow, so yes, that's what happened over the weekend. We have to constantly let people know the truth about what's going on so that they don't perpetuate this violence. And then people, and I know a lot of people are going to be in the comments being like, well, what about what the Palestinian Hamas? What about what they're doing against the Israelis? You mean resistance? Look, I got the answer. I know exactly what to do. If you guys want to stop the violence against Israel, here's what you do. It's very simple. Stop the occupation. Stop the illegal occupation. And give the Palestinians back their land. It's only been 75 years. It's not like you guys had it for that long. Just stop the occupation. It's literally that simple. It's literally, it's look, everybody makes it out to be something so complicated. Like, oh my God, it's such a complicated issue. No, it's not. It's not a complicated issue, people. In fact, it's very simple. Just stop stealing people's stuff, give them back their stuff, and then come together, have talks, and be like, look, can we live among you? Because this is the Holy Land. Guess what? Palestinian people are very hospitable. They will be like, sure, you can move in next to me. We can celebrate Hanukkah, and then you guys can come and over to our house while we celebrate our holidays. It's all good. Just don't steal my house. That's it. Like, what is so wrong with just living amongst people and then not stealing their stuff? That's all it really is. Because in 1948 in the Nakba, you guys displaced 750,000 people and killed 15,000 people. There's almost 20,000 people that were killed since October 7th, which means that you've actually killed more people, more Palestinians since the Nakba, which means you actually killed more people, more greater than the Nakba. We're literally still in the Nakba 75 years later. It literally is. The Nakba continued. I'd argue that, yes, the genocide against indigenous Americans continues. The genocide against Palestinians continues. It ain't stopped. And like, for instance, Norm Finkelstein has said they continuously mow the lawn. What does that mean? That means getting rid of Palestinians periodically. So that's the answer. Give them back their land. That's it. And if you guys honestly want to stay there, okay, make a deal with them. Sit down with them. That's all they want. They just want to end the occupation. And all this hand wringing about, oh my God, they may come here. They can come here. They don't want to come here. They just want back what's theirs. And please don't give me that ancient Israel stuff. Because I could even let's hypothetically say, even if it's true, you were like, that's ancient Israel, that's our land. You guys don't think that there's some DNA ties between you guys and Palestinians? So in essence, that is still their land as well, because they are also descendants of ancient Israelites. Those are just your cousins that you're moving out. Also, when it comes to the people, if you say that that's your land, why in the world are you not just living among them? Why do you have to move them out? Oh, because they're a different religion. There are also Jewish Palestinians that are there. Remember what the Torah says. Be kind to the people because you were once settlers in a land. You were once foreigners. So you need to treat people with kindness. That's what it says. So therefore, what are you doing? If you actually consider Palestinians foreigners, then why are you treating foreigners so harshly when God told you not to? He told you to treat them as your own. Anywho,